Hi, I'm actor Ian Champion, and welcome to History of Horror Cinema, my personal podcast tour of the good, bad, and the ugly of horror movie history. If you like what you hear, please don't forget to hit subscribe. Performance, 1970. Chronologically, 1970 sat right on the cusp, not just between two decades, but straddled two different eras in feel and outlook. There was the experimental counterculture late 60s, where a new generation of swinging London began segueing into trying mind-altering natural and chemical substances, influencing not just their minds, but also their music and other arts. The early 70s saw British and Hollywood cinema reflecting a more cynical, bitter edge in urban crime films like Get Carter and Villain. In 1970, a unique film was released that actually combined the two influences into essentially a psychedelic gangster film. We are talking about the brilliant Performance. The film was the brainchild of two visionary directors, Donald Cammell and Nicholas Roeg. Cammell had spent a lot of time on the left bank of Paris in the 1960s and was exceptionally well-read. His artistic influences on the film include all the literary references to Artaud, Camus, and especially Bourges. Nick Roeg was the stunningly original cinematographer turned director with an eye for original visuals and colors. They created a very harmonious partnership, each focusing on the actors and the look of the film respectively. Warner Brothers financed the film with producer Sanford Lieberson, also Cammell's agent, becoming a vital third wheel in the project. Another influence was David Litvinoff, credited as dialogue coach, who had rubbed shoulders with the seamier side of London nightlife and added verisimilitude to the criminal underworld element. Part of the influence on Mick Jagger to do the film was Litvinoff, who had allegedly been a former lover of Ronnie Kray, and was one of many of the Stones' entourage to be both gay, psychotically violent, and part of the crime underworld. Small wonder that these creative and background influences caused Jagger to give the fastest yes response to the film offer of any in his career so far. Performance's plot on the surface could be summed up fairly simply. An East End gangster, Chaz, tangles with the business dealings of an old criminal friend, Maddox, that he's suggested to have had a bisexual relationship with in the past. The power struggle ends with Chaz killing Maddox and needing to go on the run without protection, since his boss, Harry Flowers, had forbidden Chaz to get involved with Maddox's operations. Knowing his life is now in danger, Chaz overhears in a cafe that a room is going free, and with the contact information hides out in the decadent city home of retired rock star Turner, Jagger, and his two female friends. Here he undergoes mental and physical perceptual challenges through the temptations of these bohemian types, until the ambiguous ending where he, or possibly Turner, may have given himself up to his former gangland people. There are many elements that bend the mind and this straightforward-sounding story right from the start. The casting alone was innovative and played with audiences' expectations up front. No one would ever have conceived of upper-middle-class James the Servant Fox playing the violent, intimidating working-class thug Chaz. This, after all, is a vicious blue-collar shagger, intimidator, and all-round lowlife who loves the brutality and trashy trappings of his life. However, after 2 to 3 months of method research living in South London and accent help from real East Ender Johnny Shannon, rewarded by being cast as Harry Flowers, terrific for a non-actor, Fox emerged with the accent, the attitude, and a toned physique honed from boxing training. It's a transformational portrayal every bit as impressive as De Niro's preparation for Raging Bull, and also of suave Ben Kingsley's equally career-enhancing gangster turn as the foul-mouthed Don Logan in Sexy Beast. Unfortunately for Fox, the identity-challenging role of Chaz came at a point where he was already mentally fragile from the recent death of his father, and his involvement in the seamier side of showbiz life. Whilst immersing yourself in a complex role utterly different to one's life can be of help in darker times, it seems the psychedelic role-playing of the Powys Square house scenes pushed Fox over the edge. He subsequently left the profession for 9 years and immersed himself in a religious group called the Navigators. More accustomed to the bombardment of Cammell's artsy and trippy world was Mick Jagger, who had never acted before and fit like a glove into the part of Turner. Who better to essay the role of a famous decadent rock star enjoying the wealth and luxury of time to indulge psychotropic substances and languid philosophizing? Actually, Mick was understandably nervous in his first movie acting role, so Lieberson arranged to shoot an isolated sequence of him alone, to ease him gradually into the unfamiliar technical world of filmmaking. This is the spray painting scene, which I'll discuss later. Jagger needn't have worried. He almost doesn't seem to be acting as Turner. His performance is so spontaneous and seemingly artless that it's easy to think the directors simply recorded him doing whatever he felt like. He is at his most beguilingly androgynous, with his long hair, sensuous lips, and coquettish manner. Turner seduces and evades like Tim Curry's Frankenfurter in Rocky Horror, quoting Borges and Burroughs. Everything is permitted. Lounging on his bed, filming randomly on his 8mm camera, a living existentialist. Apparently, Mick based Turner not so much on himself, but channeling the intoxicating combination of bandmates Brian Jones and Keith Richards for the seductiveness and devilment in turn. If the part had been played by anyone not from the rock music world, it might have been a satirical send-up, and this would have damaged the hypnotic alternate reality the housemates embody. Mick inhabits that world credibly, crucial to Chaz willingly permitting the everything to be done to his self-image. A standout scene of Mick in particular is the Memo to Turner pop video, for it became the first one ever shot, making stylish use of lighting by Roeg and an oddly striking gelled hair gangster look for Jagger that's almost unrecognizable. It also neatly allows us to see the thread emerging of the strange shape-shifting between Turner and Chaz that occupies much of the last act. Turner's friends are played by three interesting performers. Lorraine Wickens is their cheeky, cockney child-maid Lorraine. I must admit I thought she was a boy when I saw her scenes, which in her little dresses would somehow have still fitted this offbeat pack. Anita Pallenberg and Michelle Breton are the free-flowing other part of Turner's ménage à trois, eating magic mushrooms, taking baths, and penetrating Chaz's psyche with sex and psilocybin. They are as responsible as Turner for inducing Chaz to gradually morph from his hard East End persona into the bewigged feminine made-up image he adopts. Pallenberg in real life had made her own shift, segued from the domestic violence of being with Jones to a more nourishing relationship with Richards. Keith was filled with paranoid jealousy during the filming, convinced that Jagger might be having sex for real with his new lady. A teasing reference to Stone's debauchery mythology can also be seen in the Mars bar on the doorstep delivered along with the morning milk. There are two other ingredients that make Performance a hugely appealing cult hit. One is the groundbreaking editing, especially in the opening. This was partly caused by necessity. After delivering a finished print to Warner Brothers that Cammell, Roeg, and Lieberson were happy with, the studio demanded that the violence be toned down, and that Jagger be introduced earlier. Lieberson and Roeg had to leave to go on to other projects, notably Walkabout for Roeg, leaving Cammell to ask Frank Mazzola to cut a new version obeying the notes. This he did to sensational effect, in style ironically very much akin to Roeg's later work. The film starts with cross-cutting between a Rolls-Royce driving along a country lane, Chaz at his menacing work, and also fleeting glimpses of Turner spray-painting his initial T on a wall at home. This was a hint of the aforementioned solo scene of Jagger, and an innovative editing solution that ramped forward his intro into the plot. It's inexplicable, but tantalizing nonetheless. An extra layer of disorientation on top is the overlaying of unsettling Moog synthesizer effects. Performance was the first film to use this brand new music technology in experimenting with unearthly atmospheric mood enhancement. The other attractive aspect to the film that adds to its cultish power is the ambiguity of the ending. Jettisoning the original script's second half, that involved a more mundane drug bust, also echoing the real-life famous Redlands one that affected the Stones, the freewheeling descent into freak-out image-breaking comes down to earth briefly as Chaz's gangland cohorts arrive to escort him to execution. Chaz suddenly comes to a conscious resolve and shoots someone, who may be Breton. the bullet blasting surreally through the body to finally shatter an image of the author Borges, a major influence on Cammell's own mind. We then witness what looks like a shot Turner slumped in the broom cupboard, and repeated teasing shots from behind of what may be the rock star and Chaz's wigged and short-haired selves walking away down the street. Flowers smugly welcomes whom he believes to be Chaz into his car. As they drive away, we catch sight that unbeknownst to him, it is Turner in Chaz's red wig that he's captured, looking enigmatically through the back window. His line, "Time for a change," haunts us with its trippy hint of identity swap, merging the images of he and his new friend. A hotly debated denouement is a priceless way to ensure a film's longevity. Not that performance needs it to cap a daring, exciting, and strangely compelling movie. Rap music fans might recognize the posterity of sound bites from the quotable dialogue and other Roeg nods in Big Audio Dynamite's similarly innovative 80s hit E=MC². Lines such as, "You're Jack the Lad," and, "You know, I don't think I'm going to let you stay in the film business." It's regarded by some as the greatest British gangster film ever. I don't know about that. Get Carter and The Long Good Friday are also strong contenders. I certainly feel, though, that Performance is the only great one that also manages to be more. It transcends the genre to be the only psychedelic counterculture post-60s classic as well. And who can beat that? Thanks for listening. If you like what you hear, please don't forget to hit subscribe.